Welcome back, guys, to another video. Just wanted to give you guys a Colorado Buffaloes football update. You guys, as I always preface every video about Colorado, I usually let you guys know that I'm not giving you any breaking news. Usually, the point of me making my videos is just to give my own personal analysis on it, just to get my voice to be heard on what I think. Not that what I think is that important, but I feel like I need to get my thoughts out there. And maybe some of you guys may resonate with some of the things that I'm saying, and maybe some of you guys may disagree. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to read an article from Buff Zone. It's an article written by Brian Howell. This is an article that was written on January 15th, 2024. And it's just about what's going on in Colorado in regards to the coaching voids that need to be filled. The article is titled Coach Prime Close to Filling Out Colorado University Buffs Coaching Staff. Now, before I even read this article, to me it's alarming that we are in mid-January, all right, and there's still coaching voids. He still needs a defensive coordinator. He still needs many other coaches. And the reason why this is important, or the reason why this is a concern to me, is because usually when you're rebuilding, you want to keep the core foundation intact when you're doing a rebuild, right? You're going to have players that are going to come and go. You have that. But the core theme of the team, the core tenets, has to come from the adults in the room, the adults meaning the coaches. And if you have a strong core of men that are in on the same agenda, vision, and mission, then it makes it much easier, it becomes more feasible to kind of take in players and mold them to what you want them to be in a rebuild. Now, if you are an established program like the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohios, the Michigans, you can have kind of coaches kind of come and go. As long as you have the main coach there, it's okay. But when Coach Prime came in with a group of men, now all those men have actually dispersed and gone their different ways. The fact that he hasn't filled those voids quickly, and I understand, I'm not saying he should fill them quickly, because I understand that you have to take your time, but that's the problem. That's the point that I made in my previous videos. I said that it's shocking to me that the first year that a bunch of coaches just leave after the first year. Now, it's not uncommon in college football for coaches to leave. It's very uncommon during the first year of a rebuild. To me, from what I've seen. Okay? So I'm going to read this article. It says, football, Coach Prime close to filling out Colorado University Buffs coaching staff. Excuse me. The article goes, it says, Colorado head football coach Deion Sanders is close to filling out his assistant coaching staff for the 2024 season. During a video posted on YouTube by Well Off Media, Sanders revealed a few changes to the staff while adding that the Buffaloes are still looking for a defensive coordinator and a defensive line coach. And that was a weakness for Colorado as well. And people keep talking about the offensive line's weakness and the offensive line's ineptitude. We can also focus on the defense as well. They weren't that great either. They gave up a lot of yards, a lot of chunk plays too, and they had problems tackling, especially a lot of those plays where receivers would just run the same route, slants. They were getting ate up. The Colorado State game, they got ate up. Stanford game, they got ate up. I mean, let me not go backwards. Let me just stick to the article. I digress. All right, it says here that we are addressing that right now. That's what Coach Prime says in quotes. Sanders said to the rest of the coaches, we could have done that probably in the last month, but I don't want to be quick. And as I said, I haven't read this article yet, but remember, as I said, this is not an indictment on Coach Prime to say, oh, hurry up and fill the voids. No, we don't want that. But that's why it's a problem. While when you come in with a group of men on a mission to rebuild a program, usually the men stay at minimum 2 to 3 years. At first year, they're just gone. That was alarming. That was concerning. But Mr. Prime, Coach Prime, aka Deion Sanders, he understands the importance of getting good coaches in to help him rebuild Colorado to an upper echelon team, to a team that's dominant, to a team that's talked about in all of college football, right? So he doesn't want to just plug in guys and say, okay, I filled the void, let's go. That puts you backwards. So this is smart on the part of Coach Prime not to rush it, but it's also bad not to rush it, because if you get a guy in late everything has to be rushed to get the philosophy of the defense to be inserted into the team's philosophy. Not only that, but then for the players to grab the cadence, to understand the philosophy. Because let me remind you guys, what Coach Kelly did on the defensive side of the ball is going to be different from what any other defensive coordinator comes in to do. You're not getting another Coach Kelly. You're going to get a different defensive coordinator that comes in with his own philosophy of what he wants his defense to look like. It may look totally different. And if it is totally different, the team's going to need time to get acclimated and to learn it and to get comfortable in that system. And when you have players that are not comfortable in that system, you're going to have a shaky year with that first-year defensive coordinator to that team. Which made me tell you guys early on previous videos that the second year for Coach Prime is just like another first year. It was almost like as if the first year didn't even happen because of all the changes. Because now the second year, here we go again with a bunch of more changes. So that's why when you are in a rebuild, it has to be a slow, systemic, progressive trajectory up to the place you want to be. It's a slow build. It's not something that's built quickly. Oh, I got my team, I got my players, let's go win. No, it doesn't work that way. That's fool's gold. It has to be sustainable, but it's a system. It's a process. It takes one step in front of the other. You can't rush it, all right? You have to respect the game, respect the process, because once you rush it, you end up making mistakes, and you end up having to go back to redo it again. And that's what I see happening here, okay? Because there was a lot of blaming and a lot of throwing things under the bus, a lot of chaos this first year. Hopefully the second year goes a little bit better than what happened in the first year. All right. And he doesn't want to do this quick. All right. Deion Sanders goes on to say, he says, I want to be right. I don't want to be expeditiously. I don't want to expeditiously make a decision, and it's not the right decision. I agree, Coach Prime. We're probably going to have this done in the next couple of days. I hope so, Coach Prime. Colorado University has not officially announced staff changes, but Pat Schumer was introduced to the team on Sunday as the new full-time offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. The former Denver Broncos offensive coordinator and New York Giants head coach was elevated to co-coordinator role with the Buffs for the final 4 games last season. Let me give my take on that. When Pat Schumer came in, when he came in as the co-coordinator, when Sean Lewis was allegedly demoted, and I said I don't believe he was demoted. I believe he wanted to step down. Him and Coach Prime did not gel. Coach Prime wanted to pass the ball too damn much, and Sean Lewis wasn't having it. So him and Sean Lewis clashed. They had heads. There was even an anonymous source in the locker room that said that they would butt heads. They would actually yell back and forth with each other. And Coach Prime would yell at Sean Lewis to keep the ball in his son's hands. All right? Anonymous source. But hey, take it for what you want. But that's what I'm leaning to. I'm leaning towards that narrative versus he just stepped down or Coach put him down. No. And then when they inserted Pat Schumer, there was no difference in the offensive philosophy. Now, the argument against that is that, well, he can't come in. There's only so much you can change in 1 week. No, you just run the ball. They have running plays in the playbook. Just run the ball. You're not changing up the whole entire scheme mid-season. We're not idiots here. They came out looking the same way that they did with Sean Lewis, which lets me know that the change was not predicated on philosophy. It was predicated on Sean Lewis not wanting to be there. And Coach Prime had to save face and make it seem like he's the one that made the decision. He did not make that decision. Sean Lewis wanted to go, and he's gone at San Diego State. I believe San Diego or San Diego State, one of those two. All right, I read on. Colorado University has not officially announced staff changes, but Pat Schumer, I already read that, blah, 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 let's go down. So we know that Pat Schumer is going to be the official offensive coordinator role with the Buffs for the final. He was the co-coordinator role, offensive co-coordinator role with the Buffs, the final 4 games of last season. Again, this is when they allegedly demoted Sean Lewis. I read along. It says Jason Phillips, who spent the past 2 years with the with the CFL's Hamilton Tiger Cats, was introduced as the new receivers coach. I don't know who he is. I'll probably have to do some research on that guy to see and probably make a video about that. I don't know who that guy is. All right, Phillips played with Sanders with the Atlanta Falcons in the early 1990s. He has coached more than 2 decades in college football. That's good. I like the fact that he has experience. That's a good thing. Most recently as a co-offensive coordinator and receivers coach for Sanders at Jackson State. Okay, so they have a connection there. That's a good hire. You want to work with people that you're familiar with, but then again, you don't want to work with too many yes men. You need to work with people who have strong personalities. You also, if you're an alpha male, I even hate using that damn term, but I just use it for the sake of this video because that's what people like to talk about. I'm an alpha, I'm a beta, I'm a sigma male. Okay, if you're a guy that likes to take charge, or AKA alpha, it's also wise to choose other alphas that will sharpen you. If you get too many betas and you get too many men that are yes men, then you're not going to get any stronger. You need somebody that's going to give you a counter argument to your arguments to make you think better about your argument, so you can think better about your philosophy, so you can think better about how you run your team. Iron does sharpen iron. You have to allow it so. So getting guys that you know, that you're familiar with, yes, there's a plus to that, but sometimes it's good to get a guy that you really don't have a connection with, but his resume is great. You get a guy with a great resume, you guys may butt heads. But you know what? The butting heads is okay, because if you're butting heads and you guys have the same goal in mind to see the team succeed, then the butting heads and the confrontation and the friction is not necessarily a negative thing, because if it's producing better product on the football field, I'll take that any day versus working with a yes man that just sits there and says, okay, coach, all right, we're going to pass the ball if we play. Okay. You don't get better. You stay the same. That's idiotic. We can't do that. All right, moving along. It says, as previously reported, Phil Loadholt, offensive line, and Vincent Dancy, defensive ends, are also new to the full-time coaching staff. Both were also introduced to the team as well. Okay, so he's filling holes here and there. His main thing is to look for a strong defensive coordinator, and I hope he finds it. So the quicker he can fill these voids, the quicker they can start getting ready for next football season. And the reason why this is a concern of mine, I feel, is if all the coaches stayed intact, if all the main coaches stayed intact, let's say Sean Lewis didn't leave, Coach Kelly didn't leave, and the tight end coach didn't leave, they would be, right after the season, they would be right back into the lab working on the deficiencies and working on the weaknesses and honing the strengths of the team and having a deliberate balance between focusing on the good and focusing on the negative. You don't want to focus on all the good, because the good is good. You kind of want to hone it, perfect the good. But the negatives, the weaknesses, like the offensive line, beefing up the D line, beefing up the O line, getting better with the linebacking core, getting better technique from your cornerbacks with the Cormani McLeans, and we know Travis Hunter's a beast. But working on those weaknesses that you had would be something that the coaches would be doing together as a collective unit, and thus them building that team chemistry and team camaraderie. When I say team chemistry and team camaraderie, this does not exclude the coaches. The coaches are part of the team. They may not be playing, but they are part of the team, because they're the ones that get together, talk about the game plan. So when you have a team of men that are working together, there's a chemistry that's built. There's a synergistic flow and energy that's built between those men. And you start to see things eye to eye, and therefore a better product is put out there on the field. But when that team, that foundational tenants, those foundational men that started with Prime were there, and now they're all dispersed and gone. They've went their separate ways. Now Prime is forced to get a new group of men to come in, to buy in again, and to start thinking on the same page again. Not to mention, you're also getting an influx of new transfers coming in. The transfer portal, I think they're ranked number 4 the last time I checked. Colorado University are ranked like number 4 in terms of their ranking of transfers through the portal. So that's a good thing. But their overall ranking with recruits, last time I checked, I think it was in the 90s. It wasn't so high, but the transfers are good. So Prime is trying to win that way. Let's see if it works. This is an experiment that's not been done this way in a very long time. Actually, it's never been done this way, where a coach predicates his rebuild solely on the transfer portal without doing it the slow methodical way through the recruitment of high school players. Prime doesn't have that patience. He wants to win now. So let's see if this works. Thank you guys for listening to this video, and thank you guys for listening to the article that I just read. I just gave you guys my analysis and my 2 cents. Leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. And till the next time. All right. Bye, guys.